This isn't just a baseball movie. It's a story about what value means and who gets to decide it. Moneyball 2011, the story of a man who overturned tradition with data. But that revolution didn't just change baseball, it changed the way we see the world. Billy Beane competes not with gut instinct, but with evidence. He focused on on-base percentage, not appearances, and found value where no one was looking. That's Sabermetrics, the new language of baseball. But can number really explain everything? Behind efficiency, there is always a cost. When people are reduced to data, dignity can disappear. Moneyball reminds us success doesn't create meaning, but success without meaning is hollow. In this video, we'll explore how Moneyball turned data into revolution and integrity into philosophy. And in the end, we'll ask, what does your Moneyball look like? Moneyball 2011 is a sophisticated and quietly revolutionary sports drama, a story about turning data into destiny. Directed by Bennett Miller and co-written by Aaron Sorkin and Steven Zaillian, this film transforms baseball statistics into a deeply human story about innovation, pride, and lose. Brad Pitt delivers a restrained yet powerful performance as Billy Beane, a man torn between instinct and analysis. And Jonah Hill's Peter Brand becomes the calm voice of logic, slowly rebuilding the emotional core of the game. The movie's rhythm is sharp and elegant. Instead of chasing victory montages, it lingers on silence, phone calls, and defeat. It reminds us that real triumph isn't about who hit the final home run, it's about how an idea can change a system. At its core, Moneyball isn't really about baseball. It's about epistemology and ethics. It educates what is value and who gets to decide it. When Beane redefines values through data, the film becomes a case study of paradigm shift and bounded rationality. But it also gives a warning. Efficiency always comes with a cost. When players are reduced to numbers, dignity becomes collateral damage. The film captures both the liberation and alienation brought by modern analytics. Philosophically, Moneyball is a story of empirical rebellion, challenging tradition through evidence, and of existential authenticity, choosing meaning over status. When Beane rejects the Red Sox offer, it's not a business move, it's a moral act of self-definition. In short, the message is clear. Success without meaning is hollow. Meaning without success still matters. Now, Moneyball isn't really just about baseball. It's a story about how evidence can overturn old beliefs, how new metrics can reshape entire systems, and how turning people into data can lead to serious ethical risks. In this video, we'll look at ideas like epistemology, paradigm shift, and the deeper meaning that goes beyond the research, along with a short English mini lesson to help you understand and express these ideas in English. Epistemology is a big word, but simply put, it asks, how do we know what's true when tradition and authority no longer guarantee it? Moneyball takes that question and brings it into the world of sports. It's not just about numbers. It's about rationality, skepticism, and the power of evidence-based thinking. The movie shows how statistical analysis can reveal hidden inefficiencies in any system, even one that's been around for over a century. And here's the fascinating part. Quantitative thinking doesn't just change the game, it challenges the hierarchies that protect the status quo. That's why Moneyball isn't a sports film. It's a story about innovation and intellectual courage. Let's break it down. The old school scouts represent tradition, bias, and the comfort of staying the same. The new value system redefines what talent really means, shifting value from looks and gut feeling to data and result. So now, let's talk about one of the film's biggest lessons, evidence versus myth. It's about trusting data more than appearances. In traditional baseball, scouts looked for players with the right look, a smooth swing, a confident walk, a so-called clubhouse feel. But those are myths, emotional shortcuts that feel true but rarely are. Billy Beane and Peter Brand challenged that. Instead of chasing the look, they focused on numbers, especially on-base percentage or OBP. Because what really wins game isn't a beautiful swing, it's how often you get on base. Let's compare. This simple shift from looks to data completely changed how teams were built. It wasn't just baseball, it was a philosophical revolution. It asked what if everything we believe about talent is wrong. Fallibility is the idea that any belief can be wrong and must be tested. In philosophy, we call this principle of fallibility, the belief that no truth is absolute until it's verified by evidence. That's the mindset behind Moneyball. Always question, always test, always prove. Now that we've seen how evidence defeats myths, let's step into the world of Sabermetrics, the data revolution that changed baseball forever. Sabermetrics, developed by Bill James, is a new baseball philosophy that defies intuition and tradition. Instead of trusting gut feelings, graceful swings, or appearance, it evaluates players through measurable indicators. Billy Beane and Peter Brand focused not on batting average or RBIs, but on on-base percentage and slugging percentage. They asked not who looked good hitting, but who get on base more often. That simple shift in perspective sparked the Moneyball revolution. Billy Beane says we are not trying to replace Giambi. The real problem is how do we win. He redesigned the team mathematically. Instead of replacing a star, he replaced the output, especially OBP, through a more efficient combination of players. This is system thinking, viewing baseball as an optimization problem, where you find the best possible outcome within constraints. People think you're buying players. What you're really buying is wins, and to buy wins, you need to buy runs. This simple but powerful logic forms the structure of Moneyball. On-base percentage lead to runs, and run lead to wins. It's a perfect example of regression-based thinking, connecting causes and effects by discovering patterns hidden in data. Optimization is getting the most on-base value for the least money. Linear regression is understanding the correlation between OBP and winning percentage. Data filtering is removing noise and focusing only on meaningful variables. These three principles transformed baseball from a game of intuition into a system of evidence. Numbers now are no more just analysis. They become a moral act, a rebellion against emotion, bias, and authority. Billy Beane's defining line captures this transformation. It's not an opinion, it's a myth. Numbers don't lie, but if we ignore them, we lie to ourselves every day. This line expresses Moneyball's philosophical heart. Data is not just a tool for truth, it's an ethical stand against self-deception. In the end, Moneyball is a film that translates human myths into mathematical truths. When the world judges value by fame or instinct, this film quietly whispers, truths often hide in the data. Up to this point, Moneyball has shown us how data can redefine logic. But what happens when logic itself hits a wall? When you have to make decisions not in an ideal world, but in a world full of limits. That's where the idea of bounded rationality comes in. It's the art of being rational within constraint, making the best possible choice when time, money, and information are limited. And that's exactly what Bambino faces. His team doesn't have the budget, the resources, or the stars. So he is forced to innovate under constraint. Adapt or die. The line captures the entire philosophy. Innovation isn't born from comfort. It's born from pressure, from working within limits and still finding a way forward. And this leads to what philosophers call the ethics of the second best, making the least bad, most realistic decision in a world that's far from perfect. Billy doesn't build a perfect team. He builds the possible one, the team that works within reality's boundary. And in doing so, Moneyball becomes more than a story about baseball. It becomes a lesson in adaptive ethics. How to choose meaning over perfection when perfection isn't an option. So in this chapter, Moneyball stops being about data and becomes about decision making under pressure, the kind of choices we all face in life as much as in baseball. If founded rationality is about making smart choices within limits, then market inefficiency is about seeing what others don't. In Moneyball, market inefficiency means this: players with high on-base percentages, players who actually help teams win, are undervalued because of bias and tradition. Scouts focus on appearances, age, or style, and overlook the players who quietly produce results. That's where the opportunity lies. Because when the market misjudges value, someone who thinks differently can find hidden gold. This is what economists call anomalies, moments when price and value don't align. And for Philippines, that's the crack in the system where innovation begins. So just like investors look for underpriced stocks, Bambino looks for underpriced talent. That's how he turned data into strategy and strategy into revolution. If market inefficiency is about seeing hidden value, then opportunity cost is about understanding what you give up to get it. In economics, opportunity cost means this: every choice has a price, not in money but in what you sacrifice. And in baseball, that idea becomes literal. Every roster spot, every position on the team is a trade-off. If you choose one player, you're choosing not to have another. So every decision carries a hidden cost. That's why Bambino's approach is so radical. He doesn't just ask who's good. He asks who gives us the most value per dollar. And what are we giving up by choosing someone else? This is not just economics. It is strategic thinking under constraint. It's about realizing that not choosing is also a choice. So after identifying inefficiency in the market, Bambino takes it one step further. He turns every decision into a mathematical negotiation with reality. Because in the world of Moneyball, every roster spot, every dollar, and every choice is a lesson in what it truly means to decide rationally. After talking about opportunity cost, the trade-offs behind every decision, we now enter one of the most fascinating ideas in Moneyball: how risk, variance, and luck shape every outcome. Because even when you make the right choice, you can still lose. And even when you make a bad choice, you can still win. That's the paradox of life and of baseball. In statistics, risk is about uncertainty. Variance measures how unpredictable that uncertainty is. And luck, well, luck is the part no one can control. Believing's genius isn't about removing luck. It's about minimizing randomness, building a process so strong that chance has less power over the result. That's why Moneyball teaches us something deeper than sport. It's not about guaranteeing victory. It's about choosing process over outcome. Because result can lie, but good process tells the truth over time. So while other teams chase luck, Bambino built a system, one that accepts uncertainty, but refuses to be ruled by it. That's the quiet brilliance of Moneyball. You can't control luck, but you can control how you play the art. So after all the numbers, all the risks and all the luck, Moneyball finally asks a bigger question. What does it mean to win? And more importantly, what's worth winning for? Bambino built a team that challenges the entire system. A team that proves you can't buy wins, but you can buy process. Yet even after breaking records, he walks away. Why? Because success without meaning is still empty. This is where Moneyball stops being about baseball and becomes a meditation on purpose. Fame fades, numbers change, but what stays is the question. Did I stay true to what I believe in? Billy's final decision turning down the Red Sox offer isn't just a career move, it's a moral statement. He chooses authenticity over ambition, integrity over recognition. That's what makes the Moneyball so powerful. It's not about being the richest or the best. It's about finding meaning in the pursuit itself and realizing that sometimes walking away is a real victory. So in the end, Moneyball isn't just about baseball, data or strategy. It's about the courage to define success on your own terms. That's a lesson worth remembering in sports, in work, and in life. After exploring meaning beyond winning, Moneyball now turns toward its most uncomfortable question. What happens when data goes too far? At first, Moneyball argues that disciplined empiricism, that pursuit of truth through evidence, can challenge powerful traditions, but it also exposes a new dilemma. When people become data points, truth can easily turn into dehumanization. This is the paradox at the heart of Moneyball. It's not just a story about baseball, it's about epistemology, how we know, paradigm shifts, how systems change, and ethics under constraint, how we define value when resources are limited. Sabermetrics in Moneyball acts as a quiet form of egalitarianism, a rebellion against bias. Players who were once dismissed, too old, too awkward, too different, finally get prized for performance, not appearance. Scott Hatteberg and Chad Bradford become living proof that action outweighs image. It's a critique of the so-called baseball wisdom that often hides aesthetic and class prejudice under tradition. What the film ultimately says is truth. Evidence is stronger than myth, but only if someone takes responsibility for the result. Change. When the metrics change, the system changes, and so does morality. Value. True value is often invisible and systemic. The market can stay irrational longer than we expect. Dignity. Optimization is powerful, but reducing people to variables is ethically dangerous. The ethical question we can't ignore is, does Moneyball liberate the overlooked, or does it perfect the machine that commodifies them? Who gets the credit? The unseen analysts or the celebrity heroes? If playoffs depend on variance and luck, how do we define merit or justice? These questions turn Moneyball into a mirror for our own world, where human beings are often measured by spreadsheets, and dignity competes with efficiency. The 20-game winning streak becomes proof of concept, data triumphing over tradition. But the post-season collapse reminds us of variance, luck, and moral humility. The phone call montage with Billy cutting players coldly visualizes the tension between bureaucratic efficiency and human dignity. So in the end, Moneyball celebrates innovation, but it also warns us, even the most rational systems must remember the irrational heart of humanity. Because the real challenge isn't just building a better algorithm, it's making sure the algorithm still serves the human being. Moneyball tried to explain the world through data, but in baseball, there is one story no statistic could ever fully explain: the legendary curse of the Bambino. In 1919, the Boston Red Sox sold Baby Ruth to the New York Yankees. What followed was an 86-year championship drought, a generation-spanning silence that fans called a curse. But was it really a curse? Or just probability, an unlucky run that defied the numbers? This story stands in perfect contrast to Moneyball's rational world. Moneyball believed data reveals truth. The curse reminds us humans still create meaning through myths. Then here's the twist. The very team Billy Beane turned down, the Boston Red Sox, finally embraced the Sabermetrics. In 2004, data broke the curse. Philosophically, this moment says, data destroys old myths, yet humanity always creates new ones. Even data can become its own kind of myth. Data can change the world, but stories are what move people. Moneyball represents rationality. The curse of the Bambino embodies humanity's need for mystery. We try to understand the world through data, but we endure it through stories. Moneyball and the curse of the Bambino speak the same truth in two languages. Truth may live in numbers, but meaning always lives in the human heart. The curse of the Bambino reminds us that even in the age of data, we still crave stories that give meaning to chance. Moneyball stands at the crossroads where logic meets belief and numbers meet the human heart. Now let's see how the world responded to that revolution, both its critical acclaim and the questions it raised. Many critics praised the Moneyball for turning a niche topic, baseball analytics, into something emotionally engaging and intellectually exciting. Roger Ebert described it as a smart, intense and moving film, less about sports and more about the war between intuition and statistics. Even audiences who knew nothing about baseball found it compelling. The film earned 6 Academy Award nominations, appeared on several Best of the 2011 lists, and built a lasting reputation for blending emotion, intellect, and precision. But what truly moved critics was not the math, it was the man behind the numbers. Many reviews noted that Moneyball isn't just about baseball and stats. It's about the man wrestling with his past, identity and ambition. Brad Pitt's Billy Beane becomes a portrait of quiet rebellion, someone trying to find meaning in a system built to erase it. Unlike most sports movies, Moneyball rejects cliches. It doesn't end with trophy. It ends with silence and realization. It shows victory not as celebration, but as an understanding. Bennett Miller's restrained direction, Aaron Sorkin's rhythmic dialogue, and Wally Pfister's cinematography all work together to create a film that feels precise, minimal, and deeply human at the same time. Of course, no film is beyond criticism. Some argue that Moneyball simplifies reality, ignoring key plays from the season to make the story feel more miraculous. Others pointed out that while the movie avoids many clichés, it still follows the familiar sports arc of underdogs, risk and redemption. As Wild noted, it still plays out like a classic sports film, just dressed in smarter clothes. And some critics said that film glosses over its own moral tension, that it raises ethical questions about dignity and data, but doesn't explore them as deeply as it could have. But even with these flaws, Moneyball stands out. It's not a story of winning a trophy, it's a story of quiet awakening. Billy Bean's journey is painfully human, a man torn between the desire to win and the deeper desire to believe in something beyond winning. His realness reflects the tension between glory and grind, and his tenderness toward his daughter is a soft heartbeat beneath all the numbers and algorithms, a reminder that behind every system there is a human being searching for peace. The final scene with his song A Smile and Breath ends not in applause, but in acceptance. Instead of shouting, we exhale, and that's what gives the film its lasting grace. Moneyball became a symbol of data-driven thinking in the real world, inspiring industries beyond baseball, finance, tech, even education. But it also serves as a warning. When efficiency becomes a religion, human meaning can disappear in the process. Billy Bean's revolution eventually spread so widely that his inefficiencies vanished. And when everyone adopts the same method, the edge disappears. So the question isn't just how to make a system efficient, it's whether the system still serves what makes us human. Moneyball makes a spreadsheet feel like a revolution, and then quietly asks, what will lose when numbers finally win? Each one of the rare films where form mirrors the ideal, precise, minimalist, rational yet full of emotion. In the end, Moneyball reminds us that statistics may reveal truth, but it's our values that give truth its meaning.